Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. Now, if you are enjoying this show, I need you to do me one quick favor. Leave us that rating and review. I want to hear from you to understand what you like about the show and how to make it work a little bit harder for your investing goals. If this is your first time listening, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We've got a great show today. We're going to be talking to Abel Pacheco. Abel Pacheco is a real estate entrepreneur and Texas native, and has a proven track record of repositioning properties, delivering quality renovated housing products to market, and delivering consistent returns to investment partners. Now, he is the host of the Five Talents podcast, and he's just a good dude to know. Out of San Antonio, Texas, let's welcome to the show, Abel Pacheco.
What's going on, John? Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Listen, I went over your bio at a very, very high level. Take 2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps.
Yeah, happy to. So essentially today, I'm a commercial real estate investor. We primarily buy, manage assets that are multifamily properties in South Texas. So if you like the South Texas area, you know, some of the opportunities that we're investing in, there's about 1,500 doors, roughly speaking, over 17 syndications that we've been able to pull off successfully. A couple hiccups here and there, but overall, happy investors, happy opportunities or happy investors with good opportunities. And I'm originally from Corpus Christi, Texas, where I grew up. So by the beach. Now I live here in San Antonio, Texas, the Alamo City. Our family was in the literal, it's called the Sons and Daughters of the Republic of Texas. I had a defender, Pacheco, Mr. Luciano Pacheco, that defended in the Alamo back in the day, and all registered and all the stuff, the link. So we're official there, man. I'm Texas born through and through, and just real estate investing. Me and my wife have been doing this since 2008. And she's a big partner in everything that we do. My chief strategist, my wife, Leslie, and we got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and kind of all the cycles, all the work, all the effort, all the energy is basically pointed at, you know, create some wealth, create some freedom, create some opportunities for us, our family, the generations to come. So that's it, man.
I love it, man. You talked about, you know, having a 17-year track record as far as investing, 17 syndications, but you've been investing since 2008. You got the 2 and a 4-year-old, 2 kids, and I've got my 2 boys as well. So it's great to hear all of that. You mentioned the 17 syndications. Walk me through like the early stages, right? Because I think one of the challenges many people have is, okay, I'm learning about this. I'm getting more comfortable with the language, the terminology, but how do I actually get started? So walk me through the early stages for you. How did you get started?
Well, what I started doing, so I'm going to tell you how I did it, and then I'll tell you what I recommend, because I don't recommend you doing what
Here's what I did, and here's what you should do, because don't do exactly what I did.
Don't do as I recommend. So we started in single family. We saved every buck that we possibly could, lived below our means. That part I do recommend. And we grinded. So this is me and my wife. There was no partners. We would go to work every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 at the W-2 job, save all of our money. And we would save about 30 to 40 grand, maybe 50 if we could. And we'd buy a house. The other house would be the rental. And we did that for 10 years. And it wasn't until I picked up a personal financial statement, which I also highly recommend you do. Go to Google, Excel, personal financial statement. You look at all your assets minus all your liabilities, and you come out with your net worth. Well, I was the resident real estate guy in my circle of friends. Nobody else had 10 houses like us. Everyone would come and ask me the questions. How do you buy more houses? You're a real estate guy. But shoot, the first time I did a personal financial statement, I looked at my net worth. I go, we're like 200K, maybe net worth. After 10 years, I was not a millionaire. And I knew that many of the world's millionaires were created in real estate. And I was like scratching my head. We're doing something wrong, because at this math, it's going to take us 30 more years to become the millionaires and have any kind of financial freedom. I might as well just go to work, right? Like, what's the difference? So that was the key factor into us jumping into commercial multifamily syndication. So what I recommend to most people is just skipping all of that. If you want to do a deal, single family deal, go do one. Go do 2 or 3. Don't take 10 years trying to do this because you think you need to do that. You don't need 10 years. You just have a couple cycles to get your confidence up, if at most. But what we did was we invested passively. There's a 4-step process that I always tell people today. Number 1, get some education. Know what you're getting into. Number 2, invest passively. Number 3, partner with somebody else that's already doing what you want to go do. And then number 4, you can do your own deals. And that's what we did. We took, I had a buddy that was doing deals, and, he was walking in front of his apartment complex on Facebook, nonetheless. And he was like showing us this apartment complex. And I was like, man, my buddy bought this apartment complex. I'm going to go ask him what he did. Sat down, lunch, whatever. Show me how you're doing it. And he goes, actually, I don't have any time to mentor or coach you, but if you invest in the deal, you're an owner, and you're going to get my monthly reports, and you'll find out everything was going on. Well, later I find out it's a syndication. This is a repeatable process. But when I put my money in, $50K, we just, took some money from our 401k, put it in self-directed IRA, put that in it. My lifestyle didn't change. I didn't miss a beat. We still went to the steakhouse dinner that night with me and my wife. We still had all of our cash in the account, but I took the self-directed IRA, put it in there. And that was one of the easiest processes I've ever been through. Like, I'm an part owner, 120 something doors, right? So because of that, we did that over and over and over again. We literally invested all our self-directed, all of our 401ks, mine and my wife's, moved it all to self-directed, then moved it all to commercial real estate as passive investors. So we were in about 800 doors passively, give or take, before we realized, oh shoot, we can go do this. Like, we got this. Let's move over. And we partnered with the same team that I was investing with. We partner with them as general partners. We, partner with them. That's the step 3. Just partner with somebody else and use their track record, use their experience. They've already gone to the show. They know the directions. They know how to get there, what time they need to leave, what time to show up, etiquette, So we just kind of go to the dance with them and had a good time. And our investors came along with us, and man, did that a number of times. And now we started doing our own deals. So
I love it.
Let me pause here, because there's probably some.
Yeah, man. Let me break that down, because you gave some great insights, right? You talked about, hey, you spent 10 years building up your portfolio, buying these single family houses. You looked at the bank account and said, where's my money? Like, I've been doing this for 10 years. When you looked at that personal financial statement, or PFS, and every lender is going to require this if you want to get into multifamily, but you need to have a PFS, or a personal financial statement, lay out what your assets are, lay out your liabilities, and see what your net worth is. And you realize that you weren't doing something right. From there, you kind of made the pivot and the transition to say, let me get into multifamily. I see this guy on Facebook. He's in front of these apartment buildings. Maybe I can partner with them. And you laid out something that you called the 4 steps, which I think is great. First, educate yourself. Second, then you want to invest passively. Third, you want to partner with someone who's in the space. And you talked about someone going to the show with someone who's already been there. So doing that. And then last, that's when you're in a position to kind of lead, or kind of go out and do your own deals. But following that 4-step process is a great way to go from, not knowing a whole lot about multifamily investing or syndication to ultimately leading your own deals. From your standpoint, I know you said that it took about 10 years of doing the single family before you realized you wanted to switch. What was that time frame from educating yourself on multifamily and syndication to going out and leading your own deals?
It took me from 2018 to 2019. Something I recommend, don't recommend. So this is another one of those things, depending on your family situation. So I was married for a number of years. My wife was my partner in single family. We were partners in life. Go work hard, invest our money, get out of the rat race. Years and years and years, right? Around that time, 2016, so a couple of years before we did our first commercial deal, it was light bulb moment went off. We took a publicly traded company where I worked at as a tech company, hosting company. I spent 10 years there. We went from $5 million a year in my organization, my small team, and we grew it. And I became a leader over 60 sellers. We were doing $50 million a year.
Wow. 10X.
So we had our 10X run, right? None of the equity or the millions and millions of dollars every year that we created was ours. 2016, they're like, hey, your performance, your track record, your pay, all of that stuff, not aligning with our company role. So you can step down and move to a lower type of job or take a severance package or whatever. And I was like, you know what? That sucked. After all those years, right? That we put everything in. My wife was an 8-year employee there too. So we were both grinding it out. And at that moment, it's like, if we don't really change, then we're going to be subject to working for somebody else. So that switch was go get education. That was the inspiration for me to figure out how in the heck can I do this outside of the W-2 job. So when we took the education, we dropped a bunch of money. By chance, my sister invited me to a weekend seminar that was free. The weekend seminar was great. I learned a ton. My eyes were wide open. I saw people that were doing 100 deals a year when it took me 10 years to do 10. So I go, I'm doing something wrong. We paid 20 grand. We put it on a credit card. I signed up for education. I ended up going to multiple companies for education. And it ensued a year of travel, 13, 14 different cities, 200 to 300 hours of coursework and weekend times. I would leave work on Thursday night, work remotely from the educational courses on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, head back home. My wife was pregnant at the time with our first one. So on that area, it was like her and me were in alignment. You got to go now. When the kids are going to come, you're probably not going to have the same flexibility. Go now, put your time in. Let's get it on. And I joined like 6 or 7 programs over the next couple of years. Education, like single family first, commercial real estate number 2. Then we did syndication courses. Then we did commercial multifamily courses. I hired a coach, a personal coach, one-on-one from an NFL football player, Marcus Ogden, this guy that I heard at one of those seminars, met with him weekly. We went to corporate structure classes, entity classes, LLC formation, investing, blah, 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 blah. All these courses of education. And, it was a lot of money. It was a lot of investment, a lot of time. And that's that period where I go, eyes are wide open. People are doing it. Everyday people were doing this. Why not me? We took the last couple of years of the corporate run. I invested passively in 2018. The original question, sorry to elaborate, John. How long did it take me from passive investing 2018 to about 2019? A year of passive investing, more education before the time I said, let's go be a co-GP, partnered with somebody else. We did a 268 unit deal and a 124 unit syndication in 2019 while I was working full time. And those are my first 2 syndications on the side.
The GP side. Yeah. I'm glad you actually took the time to go and give us more context, because I think a lot of times we have these conversations, and if you just answer my question directly, you would have said 1 year, right? From 2018 to 2019 is what it took from passive to active.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give the proper context of the amount of time you've invested. And that's the thing I think every listener needs to consider for themselves. What is your goal? What is your end game? Is it simply to get better returns on your money so you can have the time to pursue your passions, spend with your family, travel, whatever it is you want to do? If so, you may want to stay in the passive investing space, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. I think ultimately everyone who's active ultimately wants to be fully passive as well, right? 100%. Like the goal is to put your money to work so you can be financially free and spend the time with the people you love, doing the things you love. So if you have a great job, you're making good money, you're excelling at that, take the money you're making and put it to work for you so you have options and flexibility. The thing that jumped out to me on your story, and it's really similar to my story, is you face a situation, it sounds like in around 2016, where your job came to you and said, hey, either take the severance package or you take this demotion. And it really forced you to consider what was your future in corporate America, particularly that job, but in general in corporate America. Is this what you want to do for the next 20 years? Be in a situation where somebody in leadership could take a look at, some numbers on a spreadsheet and decide you're expendable. And that's exactly what happened to me early in my career. I was at GM and we went through bankruptcy, and now I did well through that time, but I also went to the agency side and I watched, the way it was churn and burn. I mean, you get aged out in advertising. It's crazy, but you get to a point where you're just simply a senior person. You're making big time money, and clients don't want to pay premium dollars for somebody of that level of experience. So it's hard to figure out how to cover your salaries, right? And I went through a company that, ended up going through bankruptcy. And it just, again, made me realize, hey, I'm not trying to do this for the next 20 years. And that made me spend my time focused on, okay, how do I build what I'm doing? And I was already investing in commercial or in multifamily, small multifamily, but then it made me get into commercial multifamily and figure out how to accelerate that. So if you're listening, what I would say to you is, from what Abel is talking about, what I just mentioned, look at your own situation, figure out what it is you want to do with your life, with your career. Do you just want a little bit of extra money on the side? Or are you trying to set yourself up for potential career change or something else? And if so, focus on the education. Take that time to educate yourself, to learn a little bit more about this. And if you do want to be active, that 4-step process you laid out is a smart one. Educate yourself, invest passively in deals to get more comfortable with it. From there, you can go and be a partner with a more experienced operator. And then once you have that experience and you really understand how things work, you can go forward and lead your own deals. Talk to me about the portfolio today. We mentioned 17 syndications. Where are you at today?
Yeah. So we're primarily focused in South Texas. I live here in San Antonio, as I mentioned. So we try to have our main core footprint in San Antonio, Texas. Excuse me. It has good market mechanics, population growth, median income. The supply demand area is right, high supply, low demand. And that's where we put all of our majority of our assets and our identified new properties is here. And so multifamily, from, the smaller deals, $5 million properties that we bought a couple of years ago, to, the larger properties, 268 doors ish, that were $25-26 million deals, which, are probably going to trade at a multiple of at least it feels like 2x right now today compared to when we bought it. But the assets or the portfolio that we're doing, it's just conservative deals that have good value add opportunities where we can buy the property, put some money into it, increase the rents by providing clean, comfortable, safe housing for the median income or the demand that wants that type of asset or type of unit. And then we just go rinse and repeat. It's a lot of times it's the same team over and over and over again. People that I actually worked with in tech. So we've got long established relationships, 10, 16 years ish, that we just kind of do the deals over and over again. A lot of the same investors, a lot of the same team, operations, asset management, et cetera. Now we're just growing. We hired a chief operations officer. That's new for us. We hired an investor relations person. That's new for us. We got a marketing person, new for us. So the growth part is really the fun part. Now that we see it kind of transition from me and my wife doing deals to, we can actually help a lot of passive investors. You mentioned the person that already has, some means. You have $1 million, invested in across these deals. It's very easy to come out with 70, 100K of passive income and, check out if you want it. Or if you have $500,000 and you're trying to create the next 1 or 2 or 3, then you can realistically put a plan together that shows you how to, multiply your income very quickly, your net worth and your income, and just, kind of set it and forget it. So we end up serving a lot of high net worth individuals, a lot of high earners that are looking for tax benefits or tax shelters. So, that's typically what we're doing, John. Just value add, good assets across Texas.
For that potential passive investor, and for us is usually someone who's, either accredited or they've got a good paying job, high earners, don't necessarily have the time to, go to all the weekend boot camps and lessons that you went to and the things that I did as well. But they want to get involved. They want to get the benefits of being a real estate investor. Where should they start? What's one of the first things that they can do to get more comfortable with this approach?
Well, I really tell passive investors the same kind of three things all the time as well. So if you're a passive investor and you have something to invest today, you're not going to go, you don't want to do active work. You don't want to deal with tenants. You don't want to deal with toilets, termites, all the stuff that we typically say, oh, this is having to deal with. Then you have the ability that a lot of others are just itching for, dying for, is like trying to get in. These assets provide 70% of all of our profits. I imagine yours are similar. We're like 70% of all the profits go to passive investors. So you put in the money, 70% of the profits come to you. And the what I tell them to do is the same education. You're trying to educate yourself on three things: the deals, the team, and the market. And if you can understand from a passive investor standpoint, not just boil it down to, is the team the right team for me? Are they aggressive or conservative? Are they experienced? Or are they not? Do I like them as individuals? Can I see myself working and investing? They're trustworthy. They got good referrals. I've talked to other investors that have had a good experience with them. XYZ, the deal. The team is, that's part of it. Sorry. The deal part of it is, hey, do I like this plan? Do I like the asset? It's got some value add, or is it new development? Is it a commercial multifamily that's acquisition, or am I going to build it from the ground up? Is it like Class A luxury? Do I like that? Or do I like the value add, Class C, where I'm going to put some extra value into it or forced appreciation? So that deal, you kind of break it down further, but at least I understand the way we're going to make money. Then the market is like, does it have good population growth? Is it diversified industry? I know that a lot of people are coming here because there's a lot of jobs and a lot of across a lot of different industry or diversification. The city's not going anywhere because there's more and more jobs that are being created, which creates higher demand for housing. And usually there's that higher demand, lower supply. Price is going to follow the demand. Price is going to go up. My rents are going to increase. Do I have good market mechanics, population growth, good median income? If I like those three things and everything feels really good, that's the time that passive investors kind of put in. So it's not completely work free, but a lot of it is summarized into, I like the deal, I like the team, I like the market. I'm going to go head down and put my money into this property, and I'm going to trust the deal's going to perform. The team's going to make it perform the way that they said it was, and that's it. I like set it and forget it. So if you have $1 million, I would say, start getting your Excel out, and figure out how much passive income do you want to create. Maybe your definition or guideline is going to be how much preferred return, how much cash flows am I going to get, and that's what I'm going to try to live off of. Or no, I'm not going to live off any money. I just want to take 1 to 2. I want to double it. I want to go 2 to 4. Well, how many years is it going to take you, and how many investments are going to do? And do I believe my team is, the right mix of conservative versus aggressive? And, that is kind of what I'm doing as a passive investor to make sure that my money is invested right at a high level summary. If I can do those three things, deal, market, team, vet them, get good at it, you can pretty much move forward with a lot of different opportunities with the quickness and know, yeah, my money's good. I feel diversified in commercial real estate, outside of the stock market, outside of, maybe my business companies, things that I'm creating on other areas to make income. Those are active, and I want to put as much of it passive. So hopefully that helps a little bit, John.
Yeah, man. 3 things to recap there: the team, the deal, the market. Those are things you want to pay attention to, and make sure you really understand the team, because that's going to be the most important aspect, because they're going to know how to navigate those other 2 things based on that knowledge and experience that they have. You mentioned a couple of times, hey, if you're a passive investor and you've got $1 million, look at how to invest this way. One thing I just want to clarify is he's not saying you have to have $1 million to invest, but, to be accredited, one way to be an accredited investor is to have a net worth of $1 million. The other ways is if you have an income of $200,000, or if you are married and you're filing jointly, if your income is $300,000. So if you're an accredited investor, you could take what Abel just said and use that to identify how do you get in. There are opportunities for folks who are not accredited right now. You may not have as many opportunities as accredited investors, but there are investment opportunities. So you just want to learn a little bit more about that as well. We talked a little about the passive investor. And one other thing is, I know you have a great resource on your website, 5talents.capital. So talk to me a little bit more of what investors can get if they go check out this site.
Yeah, thank you, John. If you go to www.5talents.capital, so we've essentially put together a lot of resources for any passive investor that wants more education the easy way without having to spend all the time, effort, and energy. Like, just get me to the point, man. What's it going to take? How do I do it? I've got our podcast. We've got about 200 and plus shows. The first 200, I've interviewed a ton of syndicators, a bunch of operators. If you're really interested in the real estate side of it and you want to know how the deals operate, the first 200 shows are great. Our season 3 we just launched, so episodes 200 plus, we're really changing the conversation for passive investors, tax strategies, investment advisors, really wealth creation, some of the 1031, some of the deferred trust, some of the advisory portion around the real estate on what to do with money. You'll like the series 3, because that episode 3 is season 3, our episodes 200 plus are going to serve that. We've got some really great assets there for you. And then there's an ebook there, if you want to learn about investing in commercial real estate, basically how to build wealth like the 1% without doing a lot of the work. It's a good summary book there. And then, of course, all our investment opportunities will be there in the future. And, on your point, John, when you mentioned like accredited investors, not accredited. So thank you for the clarification, because, in our first assets, like me and my wife were not millionaires. So we weren't technically accredited. We had just made the last 3 years of our professional IT side. We crossed 200K. We were making $300,000 of W-2 income, but I didn't have enough behind me at that point to say I was accredited. We were able to get in as non-accredited investors and start the run. So I have a dear soft spot for that person. My dad's not accredited. He still invests with us. And we do 506B deals for non-accredited investors. So if you're not accredited, man, get the relationships going. Talk to John. Talk to people like him in his world. They probably do the same as us. You've got to establish a relationship. Your time, effort, and energy goes to how do I meet other people like John and his team, people that are doing deals that people like, trust. They have great track records, and that becomes the deal part. You shake a hand or have a virtual handshake at least, and now you're registered in advance to get on a deal. It's basically, we're following these SEC guidelines, right, for non-accredited investors. So go do that work. And then if you're accredited, like John said, you have other opportunities. Man, we just we're on fund number 3, John, that we've done. So our deals are 506B. We have non-accredited investors, people like my dad, cousin could just get in, not as non-accredited, and they invest in the deal. And then we put together some diversification portfolios as for accredited investors, and we pull some of these assets together. So anyways, we're having a fun time on both sides and just trying to serve our investors, which I know you're doing the same, man. And look forward to continuing the conversation in the future with you, your guests, anybody in general that wants some help.
I love it, man. Listen, you want to reach out to Abel, learn more, and take him up on some of the stuff he just said, go to 5talents. That's the number 5. So the number 5talents.capital and check it out there. We're going to move on to our round of insights. You ready?
Yeah, ready.
All right, Abel, give me a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
Yeah. So one of the ones that I still think about today that just really, hit me hard. It was actually a single family house. One of the last straws that broke before I moved over. I had a single family property. It was a good asset. We purchased it. I did very little rehab. I put a renter in the same day that we closed it. So everything was smooth, right? 3 years later, I go back to the house. They're moving out. I drive up. It's the first time I ever set foot in that property. From the moment we bought it to the time I left it was about 3 years, right? And it's never a good thing when you see a commercial dumpster in a single family property in the front filled to the top of your rental house. It was a commercial dumpster, at least a 30-footer, and that thing was filled. And I went in, I'm like, why do they need that for move out? There was like, you know, mechanics, parts, old furniture, trash. I mean, the thing was full. My house was wrecked, man. That house would probably needed, I think we put in $40,000 worth of work, top floor to bottom. And that, all of the profits that I had created were essentially gone, and I owed money on that deal. I was negative when you looked at the equity versus how much I had to put into the house. Now, you know, we made it nice again and we made some money on the exit. But at that point, it was like, inspect what you expect. You know, trust, but verify. Walk the stuff. If somebody tells you, hey, this is what you're going to get at this price, at this time, or whatever, it was like, you got to check up on this stuff. You got to inspect what you expect at some kind of regular, you know, cadence. And that kind of set me up, you know, even today. There's times where in my business is growing, I can't do everything. I can't check all this stuff. I can't check every single one of these properties. I'm expecting my property managers to do what we need to do. But part of it is, well, shoot, we're a growing company. We got to hire a chief operations officer who's going to assign a task of inspecting what we inspect and validate, you know, trust but verify. And those things are set up for everyone's safety. So I would say that one of my biggest, you know, failures cost me a lot of money. I still think about that today. Let's not make it $1 million loss. We're okay with the 30K loss. Let's not make it a $3 million loss. So anyways, that's the point.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
A digital or mobile resource? Well, there's a ton that I use. I use Calendly a lot. Instant scheduler, ready to go. And then there's another one that I like, listennotes.com. If you enjoy podcasts or podcaster, or you like getting education, listennotes.com is like Google search for podcasts. So I can search John Casman and all of his stuff will come up in Listen Notes, or I can put John Casman market research, or John Casman value add, or Abel Pacheco wealth creation, whatever it is that you're looking for, search for it, and those things will pop up in Listen Notes. And it'll timestamp it. You can press play and you'll jump into a podcast on that subject.
Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
It's probably, shoot. Man, this is a hard one. I haven't gifted anybody a book this year. Thanks for a reminder, John.
All right, you got to get some gifts out, man.
I need to
What's your favorite book? And over the last 12 months, what's been your favorite book?
I need to give some books out. When I was younger, I used to give out The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. And, you know, I'm still a big fan of Proverbs, of the Bible. For me, I'm a Christian. I enjoy the word, digging in. So if you're, whether or not you're religious, man, Proverbs once a day is amazing for the mind. The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason is probably one of the smallest books, super thin. You can knock it out in 8 hours of the weekend. I used to give that to all my sales reps when I was in the corporate world, when I used to give away books. I'm going to get back to it now. Good reminder. But man, it's just got a lot of good principles on wealth creation and that very valuable knowledge wherever you're at in your journey.
What's a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals?
Looking at my calendar and looking at it's called an MGPP, milestone generational project plan. So we basically mapped out where we want to go over the next few years, 5 Talents Capital. In the next few years, we want to have 5,000 doors. We want to have, hundreds of investors lining up, about $500 million of real estate. So it's a big journey, but that's broken up by year, and each year is broken up by the closest next 2 to 3 quarters. So you plan it out, what you want to get to. then you grind it out and say, that's 4 years in advance, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. What do I need to be year by year? And then we take this year quarter by quarter, and then we map it out into some of the big rocks or the big milestones in each of the areas of our business. That's probably the most valuable tool that we use. It built in Excel that we use and look at, like try to do that every single day.
All right. Give me your number one insight for multifamily investing.
Get started and you got to act. Action. You can do all the education in the world, but if you don't actually do it, it doesn't matter. It's like you might as well be watching a good movie about working out and how fit the person got and the hero's journey and went transformed, which I'm on this trip. I lost about 80, 90 pounds over the last year. And,
congrats, man.
I can watch every freaking, health, inspirational, whatever you call it. But if I didn't do the work, then we wouldn't have felt better at the end. Same thing. And you can learn and watch all these podcasts and do all this stuff, pick up a book, find out, learn market mechanics, learn how to, if you don't put your money down, you're never gonna get what you want, which is the wealth creation, the financial freedom. And, you got to get started. You got to take action.
I love it, man. Let's lighten the mood, man. You're in San Antonio, Texas. Give me your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
If you want if you're here for a day and you just want some fast food Mexican, Las Palapas is amazing. Breakfast tacos, all kinds of good stuff. If you are here and you have a little bit more time, you want to get some barbecue up the road just a little bit. There are some amazing barbecue restaurants. Black's Barbecue. Man, it's some of the best barbecue I think in South Texas, and those are a couple of my favorites.
I like it, man. Good options there. Appreciate that. Listen, Abel, you gave us a lot of great information. I appreciate you sharing your journey from W-2 employee, taking your time to focus on education, spending all the time, energy, money, going to all those events, ultimately becoming, following that 4-step process you laid out, starting with education, then being a passive investor, then moving over to being a general partner, and then ultimately leading your own deals. And you talked about starting off, of course, with those 10 single family properties and then realizing, hey, I need to be in commercial real estate. So thanks for sharing that. And again, for folks who want to learn more about you or check out the podcast, they can go to 5talents.capital and check that out there. I just want to thank you again for coming on the show today, being a great guest. And Abel, of course, I look forward to seeing you again soon and staying in touch. Take care.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Amazing, man. Thank you for all your hard work. You're really serving your community for years, brother. It takes a lot of time, effort, and energy to pull off what you're doing and serving your people. So good stuff, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Abel. Take care, man.